Okay, I want you to picture a scenario. It's, let's say, 2 p.m. You have a deadline, and it is just crunching down on you. The pressure is on.
We have all been there.
Absolutely. But instead of, typing, you're pacing around your living room, muttering to yourself.
Or maybe you're just staring blankly out the window, completely zoned out.
And the feeling that follows is almost always guilt, right? You catch yourself and you think, oh man, I'm losing it, or I'm so lazy, I just can't focus.
It's the classic stigma. Society, and let's be honest, our own inner critic tells us these are, well, annoying habits, neurotic, signs of a lazy mind.
Exactly. We're told that productive people are laser-focused, silent, efficient.
But if you actually dig into the psychological research, and we have a pretty good stack of it today, that guilt is completely misplaced.
And that is exactly what you're going to unpack today.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that talking to yourself and daydreaming, they aren't flaws in your operating system.
They might actually be upgrades. There are signals of higher intelligence, of cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation. It's less losing your mind and more using it differently.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to get into the science behind why some of the smartest people, we're talking Albert Einstein level, talk to themselves.
And we'll look at how just swapping one tiny word in your head can instantly lower your stress levels.
And why zoning out, staring at the wall might be the most productive thing you do all day. It really challenges how we think about our own brains,
It does. We see the brain as this computer that should always be running the main program, but these glitches are actually essential background processes.
Okay, so let's start with the big one, the crazy person myth. You see someone on the street muttering to themselves, and your first instinct is to, maybe cross the road.
Right. The default assumption is social isolation or eccentricity. And to be fair, there's some truth there. People who are isolated do tend to fill that social void with self-talk.
But that's not the whole story.
Not even close. From a cognitive standpoint, self-talk is a scientifically recognized tool. It's not just noise, it's a feedback loop for your brain.
You sent over a study that I found fascinating. It's so simple, but the implications are huge. The banana experiment.
Yes, this one's from psychologists Daniel Swigley and Gary Lupien. A brilliant look at how language and visual processing interact.
So break it down for us, because I think of vision and speech as like two totally different departments in the brain.
They are, but they talk to each other. So in the study, they had people search for things in a supermarket, everyday stuff like a loaf of bread, an apple.
Okay.
One group had to search in total silence. The other group, though, they were told to repeat the object's name out loud while they looked.
So they're just walking around the aisles going, bread, bread, bread.
Exactly. And the result, the talkers found the object significantly faster.
See, my intuition would have been the opposite.
Yep.
I would think talking just creates noise. Wouldn't that be a distraction?
You'd think so, but the mechanism is what's really cool. When you say the word banana out loud, you're not just making a sound.
What are you doing?
You're activating the visual properties of banana in your brain. You're basically telling your visual cortex, hey, be on the lookout for something yellow and curved.
So it's like typing a search term into your own brain's search engine.
Precisely. You're pre-limiting the image. It solidifies the end game, makes the target more tangible before your eyes even spot it.
But there was a catch, right? It doesn't always work.
Right, and this is crucial. It only works if you already know what the object looks like.
So if I'm looking for some weird car part, like a flux capacitor, and I have no idea what one is, chanting it won't help me.
It'll probably slow you down, actually, because now you're just creating verbal noise without a visual anchor. But for things we know, it's a turbo boost.
This connects to another concept you mentioned, cognitive scaffolding. It sounds very technical.
It does, but it's something we all do constantly. Think about scaffolding on a building. It's a temporary structure that helps you build something complex.
Okay.
Inner speech does that for our thoughts. It takes this chaotic, abstract mess in your head and turns it into an ordered plan.
Can you give me a real-world example?
Sure. You're assembling some complicated piece of furniture, the kind with terrible instructions. If you just stare at the pile of screws in silence, you get overwhelmed.
I know that feeling.
But then you start talking. Okay, this is piece A, it connects to piece B, so I need the long screw.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, first the dishes, then the email, then make the call.
Exactly that. You are externalizing your thoughts to organize them. You're forcing a nonlinear mess into a linear sentence. That's scaffolding. And a 2023 study found that students who did this more reported clearer self-identity and better self-regulation.
That's wild. So the people we see muttering in the library, the ones we think are cracking under the pressure.
They might actually be the ones holding it together the best. They're using that voice to sequence actions, to monitor goals. It's not madness, it's maintenance.
And of course, we have to mention the Einstein connection.
You have to. He famously used to repeat his sentences to himself softly. It was probably his way of slowing down his own massive cognitive load to process it all.
So he wasn't suffering from a deficit.
No, he was exploiting a talent.
I love that phrasing. Okay, so that's performance finding keys, solving physics. But what about when we're just freaking out?
Right. This is where we pivot from performance to emotional regulation. And the science here is, I mean, it's honestly life-changing if you actually apply it.
We're talking about the difference between saying I and using your own name.
Yes. This is research from Jason Moser and Ethan Cross. They looked at how we talk to ourselves under stress.
So the scenario is I mess up, I send a really bad email to the wrong person. My default is to go, why am I so stupid? I am going to get fired.
Right. That's first-person self-talk. You're completely immersed in the emotion. You and the mistake are the same thing. But they found if you switch to the third person, something dramatic happens.
So instead of I say, why is John upset? Or John needs to calm down. It feels a little weird, doesn't it? A bit like a politician.
It feels very weird at first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the brain data is just undeniable. In their study, they showed people disturbing images, like a man holding a gun. When people processed it using I, their emotional brain centers just lit up.
And with the third person?
The emotional activity decreased.
Oh, quicker.
Within 1 second.
1 second. That's instant. Usually calming down feels like hard work. You have to breathe, count to 10.
Exactly. Most strategies require cognitive energy. The prefrontal cortex has to sort of wrestle the amygdala into submission, this third-person hack.
Yeah.
They call it an effortless form of self-control.
Why does it work so well? Is it just a distraction?
It's about psychological distance. When you use your own name, you trick your brain into thinking about yourself the way it thinks about other people. You shift from being a participant to being an observer.
That makes so much sense. I can always give my friends great advice. If my friend sent that email, I'd say, don't worry, just send a correction. It happens. But I can't take that advice myself.
Precisely. Because when it's you, it's a catastrophe. When it's a friend, it's a manageable problem. Using your name shifts you from subjective spiraling to objective coaching.
So you're basically hacking your own empathy, treating yourself with the rationality you'd show a stranger.
That's a great way to put it. They even saw this in sports. A study of tennis players found that the ones who practiced instructional self-talk, like focus on the next move, showed way more self-confidence under pressure.
But the type of talk has to matter, right? You can't just insult yourself in the third person.
Correct. Saying John is an idiot is still negative. But saying John needs to watch the ball is instructional. It moves you towards competence, not collapse.
Okay, so talking to yourself is good. It helps you find things, it calms you down. Let's flip to the other habit, zoning out, daydreaming.
Ah, yes, the dreaded mind wandering.
I mean, we live in a culture of relentless productivity. Staring out a window is basically a sin. If my boss walks by my desk and I'm just staring at the wall.
It looks like you've checked out, like your brain is shut off.
Yeah.
But under the hood, the engine is actually revving higher than usual. When you zone out, you're engaging what neuroscientists call the default mode network.
The DMN. It sounds like a computer's screensaver mode.
The name is a bit misleading because it sounds so passive. It's not. It's a series of huge brain networks that connect when you're not focused on a specific external task.
Yeah.
And a massive 2025 study just showed a direct link between this network and creativity.
So letting your mind wander is a form of work.
It's a different kind of work. The study found that people who engaged in deliberate mind wandering, so intentionally letting their thoughts drift, showed higher creative performance.
Wait, deliberate mind wandering. How do you plan to zone out? That sounds like a contradiction.
It's about creating the space for it. It's the shower principle. You know how you always get your best ideas in the shower?
Or when I'm driving, yeah.
Right. You're doing a mundane task that doesn't require a lot of active focus. So your executive network, the part that's like a strict librarian, it gets to relax. And that lets the default mode network, the jazz musician, wake up and start improvising.
I like that, the strict librarian versus the jazz musician.
And that jazz musician starts making connections between ideas that don't normally go together. The researchers found that people who are high in spontaneous mind wandering are actually better at task switching. They have more cognitive flexibility.
You also flagged another study from 2024 about what our brains actually do during this spontaneous thought.
Yes, because there's this fear that if we let our minds wander, we'll just ruminate on anxieties.
Right, totally. Did I lock the door? Does my boss hate me?
Exactly. But it turns out these unprompted thoughts aren't just random noise. They tend to organize around goal-relevant information. Even when you're not consciously trying to solve a problem, your brain is. It's consolidating memories, running simulations.
So when I'm staring at the wall, my brain is secretly playing 4D chess with my life goals.
It's it's synthesizing information in a way that focused thought just can't.
There has to be a catch, though. I can't just daydream my way to success.
The catch is balance. It's not a magic bullet. The benefits only really show up if you also have strong attention control. You have to be able to focus when you need to.
So it's the ability to toggle between the two states.
Yes. Focus, then drift. Focus, then drift. If you're stuck in drift, you're just scatterbrained. But if you're stuck in focus, you're rigid and uncreative.
So who's in charge of the toggle switch? Who's the boss?
That would be your inner CEO.
The inner CEO. I like that. What part of the brain is that?
Yeah. That's your prefrontal cortex, the PFC, right behind your forehead.
Sure.
It handles all the executive functions planning, decision-making, stopping you from doing something stupid.
So the PFC is what tells the jazz musician the jam session is over and it's time to get back to the spreadsheet.
Precisely. And mindfulness, just the simple act of noticing that you've drifted, is how you train that CEO. You don't want to stop the drifting. You just want the CEO to be able to call the meeting back to order.
Okay, this brings us to the weirdest and I think coolest bit of research you found. The robots.
I had a feeling you'd like this. It's from some recent AI research.
Tell me, why are robots talking to themselves?
Researchers are actually programming robots to use human-like self-talk out loud.
You're kidding. Like, I am now picking up the cup.
Exactly like that. I am detecting an obstacle. I will now move left to avoid it.
Why? The robot doesn't need to hear itself to know what it's doing.
No, the robot doesn't need it. We do, the humans. The research shows that when we hear a robot thinking out loud, it dramatically increases our trust in the machine.
That is fascinating. Because if a robot just swerves silently, I might think it's broken. But if it says, I see a box, I'm moving, I trust it. I understand its process.
It makes the black box of its mind transparent. And if you think about it, that's what we're doing when we talk to ourselves. We're making our own process transparent.
It's like we're signaling, I'm not crazy, I'm just processing.
And there's deep biological evidence for this. Research on aphasia, when people lose the ability to speak outwardly because of brain damage, shows that inner speech is very often preserved.
So they can't say the words, but they can still talk to themselves in their head.
Often, yes. Which suggests inner speech isn't just some byproduct of learning to talk to others. It seems to be a distinct, resilient, and absolutely critical part of our consciousness.
That makes me feel so much better about the constant chatter in my head. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Okay, let's recap this because we have covered a lot.
We've learned that muttering in the supermarket helps you find your keys faster by activating visual cues in your brain.
We learned that if you're stressed using your own name, that third-person hack can cool your emotional brain down in less than a second. It creates distance.
And we learned that staring out the window isn't lazy, it's your default mode network, your inner jazz musician, connecting dots and solving problems in the background.
So these aren't annoying habits. They're the brain's self-coaching mechanisms.
They're the background processes keeping the whole machine running smoothly.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought based on that robot research because that really stuck with me.
Go for it.
If hearing a robot talk to itself makes us trust it more because we understand what it's thinking, why are we so embarrassed when we do it? Why do we hide our own processing? Maybe that voice in your head is the only CEO who really knows what's going on, and we shouldn't be so afraid to let it speak up now and then.
That's a great question. Maybe we should all trust our own programming a little more.
I'm going to go have a very loud conversation with myself about what to have for dinner. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.